I've just been asked the most exciting question, and the whether or not it is legitimate to use the Latin plural for the word referendum. And this is because I made a video about a week ago, and I chose to talk about referendums rather than referenda, and somebody picked me up on this, and I said, well, it's not an ancient Latin word, and therefore it doesn't deserve to have an ancient Latin plural. It's not a proper Latin word. The word referendum comes from the Latin verb referere, which means to refer or to bring back, and it's the neuter form of the Latin gerundive referendus. So it's not a noun, which translates as something to be referred, a thing that must be brought back. So it's a complicated piece of grammar. But the thing which I think determines the fact that it should not be accorded a Latin plural, and a lot of pompous arses talk about referenda in the same way as they talk about octopi, because they simply do not have the classical background to know what is correct. The plural of octopus is not octopi, it's not a Latin word, it's a Greek word, so the plural is fifth declension, Greek octopodi. And the plural of referendum is referendums. Why? Because the first time it appears is in the 18th century in Switzerland. And the first documented reference to the word referendum in English appears, I think, in 1797, and it's referring to the Swiss practice of referring legal decisions, legislative decisions, to the electorate for approval. And Switzerland was a pioneer of the use of referendums as part of its system of direct democracy. So in Swiss Latin, the word referendum was used to describe proposals or decisions referred to the public for a vote. And by the 19th century, the concept had spread to other parts of the world, where it came to describe any direct vote by the electorate on a specific issue, as opposed to decisions made solely by the elected representatives in Parliament. So a referendum in British constitutional concepts is probably an irregular concept, because we have already elected in our general election a representative who takes decisions for us. So a referendum in Britain is always, I think always, an advisory referendum. The decision is still taken by the elected representatives. Now, in contrast to the word referendum, the word plebiscite certainly goes all the way back to ancient Rome. And the plebiscite, the first recorded use of the word plebiscite, I think, there's the word plebiscitum or plebiscitum. No, it would be plebiscitum. Plebiscitum, I think. Plebiscitum. And that was a decision made by the plebeian assembly. So the plebs, the common people, and scitum, the decree. Scitum. It might be scitum, actually. I remember we got into a lot of trouble when we were little, because we pronounced Latin with a church Latin pronunciation. So scio would not be scio. So this would be scitum. That's the more acceptable Latin pronunciation. The church Latin would be scitum. So it is scitum, plebiscitum, because we got into trouble for getting rather prudish about the third person present of scio. And so the plebiscite again, the word plebiscite again, is a mid-19th century word, which was first used in, I think, 1860, and sort of comes out around about the French Revolution period. But anyway, plebiscites, it should really be plebiscites. Plebiscites were held and were specifically celebrated by the dictators of the 1930s. Adolf Hitler held 4, and Mussolini held two. And I'll tell you what they are. 1933, withdrawing from the League of Nations. 1934, the merger of the offices of President and Chancellor. 1935, the Anschluss. And 1938, the Anschluss. And 1938, the Sudetenland occupation. And meanwhile, it's Mussolini who encourages all this. 1929, the approval of the Lateran Treaty, which is the agreement between the Italian state and the Vatican, which confirmed the Catholic Church's recognition of Mussolini's government in return for its continued existence in the middle of Rome. And 1934, the parliamentary reform and the fascist list approval. And of course, the word fascist, we give that the SC sound. So we should be talking about the plebiscite, not the plebiscite. We are so inconsistent in the way we use English. But I was so excited, deeply excited, to be asked these questions, and so the answer is this: in the etymology, there is no such thing as referenda. It has to be referendums, and plebiscite. We mispronounced it. It should be plebiscite, and I think that rather sums it up, doesn't it?